What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gojo with Mike Golick Jr. That is me. With me, as always, super producer Brandon Newman, and back for another Wilder Wednesday, Charlotte Wilder. Friends, how we doing?
Phenomenal. Great. The better for being here, Michael.
Charlotte, you responded to that like the villain in a children's story.
Right.
Like, all the better to see you with, my dear.
I'm the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood.
And you know what? We love you very much for that. We have a great show with that in mind today. Here, as always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review Gojo. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel. I know the YouTube audience always loves a good Wilder Wednesday, so make sure you go subscribe to the DraftKings YouTube channel and check us out under the Gojo with Mike Golick Jr. tab. We've got Cam Newton back out in the news. We have got... some things to get to. We did a mailbag today. We submitted for some questions from you guys on Instagram, on Twitter, at Gojo Show, on both where you can get us. So we'll go through and answer some of those with our friend Charlotte. And we also need to tap back into the general bracket sphere because, Charlotte, you were with us before the kickoff of March Madness last week. You also helped us kick off our Some Shining Moments bracket here. You and Jess Matana were essentially like our selection committee. And I feel like you guys predicted very accurately some of the results that we've seen in the tournament so far.
Well, I would say we were less selection committee and more like the people on Twitter after it's announced, because like it had already been done and we were like, well, this seems like a bad idea, and you were like,
Oh, you guys were like Reese Davis and Jay Billis and the crew that are reacting live on ESPN set. You guys were doing the reaction show in real time.
Yeah, exactly. And I want you both to know that I purposely did not look at the bracket to see how it's doing, because I would like to be surprised on the podcast for content's sake.
Get ready.
You will be surprised, Charlotte. You will also be surprised. Oh, yes, absolutely. There are results that will absolutely shock you. Lord knows they have shocked us. This will not shock you nearly as much, Charlotte, as the news that we also have our bracket wager going here on the show. Brandon and I wagered on the men's bracket in March Madness, did our March Madness bracket group on the NCAA bracket app, and had like 453 people show up in that. I believe you showed up in that also,
Charlotte.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I'm trying to be a good teammate, and I did both the men's and women's brackets. but
Charlotte,
hold on.
Yeah.
There is a catch. What? I filled them out, and I haven't been able to figure out how to access them since.
Oh.
Yes! So I'm officially in there, and I couldn't quite tell you how I'm doing, except for the men. I know it's bad because I have Virginia winning.
Oh, I do remember that from your appearance here. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you probably were going to input a password and you wanted to create your own. And if you're one letter off, then all of a sudden you're screwed because you typed it in already and now it belongs to the AI.
So I like the idea of my brackets just like hanging out there, unsupervised. It's like college for them.
It gives me a great opportunity to bring this reference in here. You've got Schrodinger's bracket right now. You don't know if your bracket is actually alive or dead at this point. It exists in a state of quantum superposition.
Is that usually a cat? Schrodinger's cat?
Yep.
Wow, look how freaking smart we are, Mike. Can you believe it?
Yeah, just y'all two. What the hell y'all talking about?
It's okay. I read a long article about physics and how like everything might be happening at the same time in the block universe, and then I was like, and then I got down a rabbit hole and realized I didn't really understand any of it, and then I do remember there was a cat involved, though.
There is definitely a cat. I've had a number of those like coffee table physics books that explain it with pictures that have helped me. And it's the one thing I hold on to. I've realized as an adult, you really just need to know one interesting fact about a few things. Like for me, I don't know grammar for shit, but I can always tell you that rules for vowel pronunciations, I know the one in particular where if you've got two vowels that are separated by one consonant, the preceding vowel takes the long sound, whereas if you've got two consonants in between those vowels, then you get the short vowel sound for that. I don't know dick else about grammar, but I can spit out that one and people are always kind of amazed, just like a Schrodinger's cat reference.
I know way too much about grammar and I didn't know that, so... just enriching minds, and everybody listening now knows that. You're welcome.
I got something even better for you guys. I found Charlotte's bracket.
Oh God.
Oh,
She is amongst 14 people tied at 41st right now.
Oh,
with
wait.
54 upset points.
Hold on. 41st out of 465?
You can imagine how many people are tied with specific points, but yes,
Oh.
not very bad, not too bad. You obviously had Houston playing in the final game, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I was making sure I found the right bracket.
Yep.
But you still have 40 points remaining, and you really cleaned up on the Midwestern side. So shouts out to you. You're kind of a Midwestern at heart with that. Oh, also you're doing pretty well in the West. You only really got the Illinois and Kansas loss. So
Charlotte, you're also
on.
fully beating my ass. I am in 173rd place out of 453 people. And do you know what place Brandon is in?
don't do this.
We have no idea because Brandon couldn't be bothered to fill out his bracket in our pool and had to fill it out by hand after. So now at some point, I'm going to have to go back in and hand score it so we can figure out which one of us won and which one of us lost so we know who's redoing our pro day at Notre Dame.
Okay, Mike, we don't have to worry about it.
That's what's at stake here?
Yes, that's the punishment. We're going to be in Notre Dame the first week of May, and Mike is deciding to ruin one of our lives during that week.
Not our lives, just one of our hamstrings.
What does that entail?
Glad you asked, Charlotte. It's going to include the 40-yard dash, the short shuttle, the 3-cone drill, the 225-pound bench press, and then vertical and broad jump.
Jeez. Okay. Well, Godspeed. Mike, am I mistaken, or did you and I do a 40-yard dash together at like a 2018 Super Bowl or something?
We did, which means that now I have done a 40-yard dash at the Super Bowl against everybody in this podcast room right now because I lost one to Brandon this year.
You beat me, I think.
Wow. All right. That's, Charlie, you're still on the medal stand for this podcast as far as 40-yard dashes. So a well-earned bronze.
I'll take a bronze, baby.
Hey, and I'm fast. I got my 23andMe back, and it has like random traits that they put in there. One of those things are I am prone to be a better sprinter than I am long distance runner. So
wait, that's
quicker
what they
than
say?
fast.
Hey.
Do you have the power elite athlete gene?
No.
Wait, that's
I
I don't know if that's well. So
Wait,
I say
is this like the clutch gene?
My dad did 23andMe and he's really proud that he says he is the power elite athlete gene, but now that I say it out loud,
it sounds like something a dad would lie about.
Yeah, maybe it just said that he was like prone to something, and that's what I'll have to ask him. I'm seeing him this weekend, so I'll report back.
Charlotte, that sounds like a dad lie. Like
I said it out loud, and I heard the lie in there. Yeah.
Hey, as a dad, I can tell you there's certain things we tell our kids just to make ourselves laugh.
And then they go and repeat them on podcasts.
So,
man.
You guys know that U.S. Marine Corps Iwo Jima statue of the guys pushing up the American flag?
Yes.
Speaking of dad lies, for years, my grandfather, my dad's dad, used to tell him and his brothers, because my grandfather was in, I believe, the Marines. He was in some branch of the armed forces. I believe that statue is, it's the U.S. Marine Corps. So he was in the Marines. And he used to tell my dad and his brothers that he was in the background of that statue. He was one of the hands at the top. And for years, they believed him.
I would have too.
That's great.
Who's to say he's lying?
They used to have a replica of that statue near the mall in West Hartford, Connecticut. And so we used to drive by and my dad would be like, there's Grandpa Lou.
Listen, I waffle daily thinking, am I going to lie to my children about how much I actually played at Notre Dame? I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to tell them yet.
Oh, buddy, my brother's got a 9-month-old boy, and until he knows how to use the internet, we lost to Alabama by 2 points in overtime. Which he's going to know how to use the internet when he's like 3 because all of these kids are tablet geniuses now. But
like that just made me. That was a sad one.
It's because there's too much truth in this. Speaking of sads and exciting upsets, guys. This tournament has been incredible, not only for the many upsets that we have seen, that's also translated to the women's side of the bracket. Also, we had Ole Miss upset 1 seed Stanford. And then just the other night, when you and I finished podcasting, Brandon, we had Miami, who I believe was also a 9 seed, upset number 1 Indiana. It has given us what I think is a beautiful trend among college athletics that we have now seen at the end of the FAU game, the very famous interview with Jamie Erdahl, where the player swore on air and she said, "Don't worry, we're on True TV, man." We had it happen with Drew Timme after Gonzaga's win, where he went out and said, "Man, we can't be the team to fuck this up." And just last night, I forget the young lady's name, but after the Miami upset, she was talking and waxing poetic about how one of her assistant coaches had told her to go out there.
It was Destiny.
It was Destiny, yeah. So she went out and told her to win the fucking game. And very casually dropped the F-bomb on the ESPN broadcast and very casually apologized. And the kids are out here cussing and winning, and I love it.
I love it so much. It's also, I've seen every one of those happen live, which is somehow, like, of course they're going to get clipped. Of course we're going to see them after the fact. But being there to witness it in real, where you look at each other and you're like, did you just say fuck on television? It's like chef's kiss. That's the real reason we watch sports.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And different events like that. I'll take it back to American Idol. It has nothing to do with sports. I saw.
Wait, take it back. American Idol is sports.
Okay, I'll take it back. Yes, and an event.
Charlotte official.
Yeah.
I believe it was 2009 or 2010, but I saw the guy do pants on the ground live on the show. Like, like, pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. Hat turned sideways, pants hit the ground. Call yourself a cool cat, looking like a fool, walking, talking with your pants on the ground. Get them up. Hey, get your pants off the ground. Like, I saw that live,
you know the whole song.
Like, Mike, it was but this is before you could rewind things. I just was like, this is going to be important for a long time.
And oh boy, were you right.
Man,
it's special when you see it live.
100%. A beautiful moment like that. Because you're right, Charlotte. In the internet era, it's always going to resurface, but it's like hand picking and eating fruit off of a tree as opposed to getting it from a market. There's just something you feel a little bit more grounded and connected to stuff.
Best analogy I ever could have hoped for.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Charlotte, is there anything else so far? Because we haven't seen you since the start of March Madness. Is there anything else that stuck out to you so far on either the men's or the women's tournament from what we've seen in that initial weekend of March Madness?
I don't think anything that people haven't already said. I think it's been really cool to see the women's side get shaken up because it's usually so chalk, and I think it's really fun. I was psyched when Miami won after the coach had been disciplined and the Cavender twins and the whole NIL stuff that you guys and I talked about. It was just great. Like, those moments of... but also, like, it made me very sad. I was so sad for Indiana. Like, they're sobbing. And that's the thing about college sports, where there's so much more emotion. And for some of these kids who are seniors who probably aren't going to go pro, you're just like, there's something beautiful about when they're crying. And like, yes, they're crying because they lost, but also because I think of it as like, here they are standing in one place, and then all of a sudden, and they've been running their whole lives, all of a sudden they stop. Like, it's officially over, and all of their past selves who worked so hard to get there just like hit them like a ton of, it's like a physics thing where all of a sudden they're so overwhelmed by like, oh my God, A, it's over, but B, look at what I did. Like, there's so much joy in it too. And it's just a beautiful thing. March Madness is one of my favorite sports things ever.
That's a great point. And sports endings are a really emotional thing because however long you played, at some point you had a sports ending. It's that line from Moneyball. At some point, we're all told we could no longer play the children's game. Some of us are told at 13. Some of us are told at 38, but we're all told. Like, Brandon, do you remember, was there a moment for you when it hit, when you were at Ball State in your last season?
I don't. Yeah, and honestly, it's bad because it was the Beef O'Brady's Bowl of all places to have your last football game.
You got a ring from that game, didn't you?
I may have.
I'm pretty sure I remembered you showing me a bowl game ring from Ball State.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get into that because rings. Well, actually, one of the things that Ball State messed up with, I got a 4-year Letterman ring as well there, which I was only there for a year, so what an impact. But yeah, it was Blake Broidle's last college game as well, and he kind of embarrassed us. And I remember just like feeling solid in my 2 feet. That was like, okay, definitely not going to start at the next level. Like, let's see if we can bounce on some practice squats, But all of the real memories I feel like that mattered to me were back in high school. Like, the guys I played high school with everyone that I played youth league football with for years. So it was like, the last time playing with the people I fell in love with the game with at a real level. And I just remember crying like a baby after losing overtime, second overtime, had to go for 2. Dropped it in the end zone, that type of thing. But yeah, it's sad. But also, when the ability to stop making money off of it hits you too, like that's really sad. Like that kind of thing. That's the thing that hit in college when you're like, okay, like there's no way, because I feel like I use football to play for school a lot of times too. There's I'm not going to be able to exchange my talent for anything that's worth value anymore.
No, I think that's a great point and a reminder that sports do mean a lot of different things to everybody. And for some people, you absolutely have to remember, that is the avenue for people to change their lives with that. So it's a big part of it. Charlotte, did you have a moment with that?
I never took sports as seriously as I should have, which is sort of when I played them, which on the one hand, I'm like, good for you. I think I knew it wasn't going to get me to college. I knew that I wasn't bad, but I think I always knew that I wanted to be a writer, there was such a clear path for me in some form that I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I think it was hard for me to put everything into something that I just didn't see where it was going to get me.
Sure. Right.
And not that I didn't I played softball and I was a captain my senior year, and I loved that team. I loved playing so much. I was a good hitter. I couldn't field for shit in the infield, so they just put me in the outfield because I could track down a ball, and I had a blast. And I think that the sadness for me was I loved going out there, and in softball or baseball warm-up, you start close to each other, throwing a ball back and forth, and then you gradually get farther and farther apart. That was the best thing in the entire world. You just shot the shit with your friends. The softball team was full of weirdos at my school, and they were all it was like a comedy. We were just doing bits the whole time. And I think I remember when that ended being I wasn't going on to play sports in college. And I think I remember being oh man, that's not going to happen again in that way. And there was, you can't recreate that no matter what men's or women's league you play in. There's something very special about playing sports in school in some form. So I can't say that I had that same heavy impact moment, but there was this is gone forever now.
Yeah, sports have a different finality than everything else. And the high school version of it is definitely the most pure, whittled down version. You talking about that, for me, it was partner stretch lines. My buddy in high school, who was my partner stretch partner, is a guy named Brendan Jasper, who's getting married coming up this summer. I'm going to his bachelor party this weekend, and it's going to be all of my high school teammates. And high school sports preserves you in amber, because as soon as I land with that group, it's all the same stuff from high school. We already had a reference to the team that we lost to our senior year in state. Already had that pop up in a group chat leading up to this weekend. So those are the things that never go away. But once it is done, I was driving, I drove from LA to Arizona to see my family today, and I'm getting ready. I'm going to see Taylor Swift this weekend. And I was listening to Taylor Swift.
You've got a hell of a weekend coming up.
My sister in Christ.
I mean,
gonna be scraping me up for Monday's podcast.
Yeah, worried about you.
If you thought I sounded like Sunday shit coming off Super Bowl week, no. This guy.
Brandon, if Mike's MIA, just let me know and I'll pop on and do my best.
Oh my gosh, what
Golic Jr. impression.
Honestly,
surprise Charlotte Brandon podcast on Monday.
I've missed one show in my career because of a night out, and it was my coworker Prim Saripapat's wedding in New York, and I ended up missing the radio show the next day, and it was the best radio show we ever had, and I somehow didn't get in trouble. It was incredible. But I was driving listening to the Taylor Swift, and there was one song where she talks about she talks about like remembering this moment, like the first time she went on stage. And I thought, oh man, she can do that for a really long time. Like she can remember the first time and how it felt, but she gets to do this in perpetuity. And I actually, like, this isn't even like where people make up sayings that their kids said. I absolutely thought like, the thing that I already built so much of my life around is over. I don't get to do that anymore. And it's just a weird thing that we always grapple with. That's why athlete mortality and player transitions from the game to the next is always something that's so interesting to talk about, because it's done. It's big done. You don't get to go back and dip a toe into that, even if you're, sowing your oats in a rec league or something like that and getting something close to the similar feeling.
But Mike, you also had a cup of coffee in the league. Like, when was your moment that you were able to have an NFL jersey on during that moment? So,
I had two, because the college one, like, the more and more and further away I get from it, playing at Notre Dame football was my dream. Playing in the NFL was something I wanted to do, and something that I, think I gave as close to my all as I was going to get at. So the Notre Dame one I got to have in the third quarter of the Alabama loss. And that's not even like to be funny. That game was out of hand for so long. Yeah. I remember at one point I felt myself getting emotional on the sideline, and I caught myself and I was like, legitimately, this conversation in my head, I'm not going to be the one they get on camera and run on SportsCenter for the sad Notre Dame shot. I had seen too much of that. And so I caught myself there. But by the end of the game, I got to have that celebration with our buddies in the locker room, because at that point it was, all right, we get to reflect on our time there now. We get to go and we were having a party one way or the other. They've got all the stuff set up. It was just a party with sadder music. We got drunk. We talked about all the good times and we did the recollecting. The NFL one was different because I had gone 3 years. I hadn't made a team. I hadn't even made a practice squad. I was just going to training camp and getting cut. 1 year I did the whirlwind where I did the FXFL and went to Canadian training camp and all this stuff. But 2015 for the Saints, I'll never forget it. Our last preseason game that year was at Green Bay. And the reason I always talk about Green Bay Packers fans being different, that town, I say this lovingly, is like a big high school, shuts down on game day. Preseason 4, Lambeau was full to watch me and the future Enterprise Rent-A-Car Agents of America go out there and play football. That's just how much those people love football. But I remember being down on the field and I was crying pregame. And I remember thinking, because I didn't know if I was going to make the team, I knew I was going to play a bunch in that game. And I said, if this is the end, what a pretty damn cool place to potentially end this, that has this much history, to get to walk out of that small concrete tunnel that all those legends had walked out of. Like, for years I had heard opposing players talk about coming to Notre Dame, say their coaches told them, don't let the ghosts beat you. And I said to my parents after the game, I heard the ghosts here. Like, this is a place where you come and you can hear the ghosts. And so, my parents and my brother were there for that game, and the goats. Lots of goats. So I got to kind of, really walk into that one with finality in mind. My parents and my brother were all there. We got a picture down on the field after, and awesome. After that I got cut. But it was really unique to get to end it there, even if it wasn't anywhere near the circumstances that I had wanted my football career to end in.
The two things. One, I think that, so I was a poetry major. Like, I thought that I was going to be a poet, and then I realized I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how you be.
You didn't know it?
How do you? Yeah, no. I was like, I don't know how. I don't know it how. I was like, should I get my PhD for 7 years? And then I was like, we all know that's not going to happen. But you guys are as close to poetry and sports as I have come. Like, sometimes you'll say things where I'm just like, that's a lot. You both have bars, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, to quickly go back to Taylor Swift for a moment, JJ Watt had a TikTok where he talked about how impressed he was with her performance. Did you already touch on this?
We did mention it, but I want to hear your standard or your vantage point on this.
The reason that I bring it up is because there was, so he talks about how great she is, how impressive, 3 hours, 15 minutes, no breaks, how she's a true entertainer. She gave everything to her fans. Everything was in service for her fans. And it made me think about, this is going to sound very strange, Gronk's beach party, where he's literally, when he does these things, he'll be out there for like, I've been to 2 of them now, which is
built different.
I'm gonna have to process that in therapy once, now that I realize that I've been to 2 Gronk beach parties. But he is out there for like 8 hours at a time dancing with these people who come to party with him. And the way that JJ Watt was talking about this was clearly from the point of view of someone who has given it his all, who had put everything he could out there and really cared. Like, I think if he got shit for anything, it was for being too earnest a lot of the time. And so for him to say that, the reason I bring this up is because I watched him and there was an element of wistfulness in his voice. There was like, there was a sadness, even as he was being very positive about Taylor Swift's performance, because for me at least, and this is total conjecture, so sorry JJ if this wasn't going through your head at all, but for me I saw an element of like, oh shit, she gets to keep doing it.
Yep.
Like she gets to keep doing it. And that was like the undertone.
Charlotte, we've talked about it on this podcast before, and I always sound like I'm belittling our profession right now, but there really is nothing like being in it. There's nothing like...
It's a very silly profession. Mike, so.
It 100% is, and it's great, and it's not to like devalue the work that everyone puts in. Like I've seen... There are a lot of people who approach this with that same mentality. I think like once you've done something at a high level anywhere like JJ has, you can recognize it in other places. Yes. Because greatness in any field requires similar things of you. And so, but there's a difference of being the one at the center of the arena. Like that's the thing athletes and entertainers have always had in common. And when you realize I'm never going to be the one that people are showing up for, I'm never going to be the one who can impact how all these people feel or how the results of this go, that's a really weird, hollow feeling. And I think it's why so many guys end up going back and like late chasing coaching sometime, is because that's the closest that you can get to then being a part of the operation again and actually influencing an outcome or helping someone get better at something instead of just, talking about it the way we do.
Well, also sorry, Brandon.
No, please.
Just like, I think I'm not afraid to admit I'm chasing that in this career.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be doing live shows. I want to be on the broadcast in the big moments. If you are competitive or care about sports or are wired in a certain way, I think it's hard not to chase that. And it just depends what form that takes. But you want to get as close to that center as you can. And even if you know you're never going to hit it, like that's still the thing.
Yeah, I'll say this little anecdote. When I first started doing podcasting with Joy Taylor back at Fox Sports, I was talking to our friend of ours, John Goodman, who played in the national championship game with Mike and had that moment as well. I was talking about the transition into podcasting and, whatever it is. And something he said to me stuck with me to this day. He said, it's so cool because you still have a game day. And the concept of podcasting, obviously we do it every day now, so it's a little bit different, but like the concept of going out there, preparing, trying to execute a plan, and at the end of the day, getting to watch the tape, you're never as bad as you were, you're never as good as you were. Like, I think there is something to what we're doing, that the very real nature that we still have a game day, and that should be celebrated.
100%. It's why I always tell guys that like calling games is the reason it's fun to do is because it's the closest you get to playing. You watch tape, you show up, you have a game day, you get all the energy. It's absolutely spot on. So it's fun. And like you said, we're watching that happen for some people in real time. I died laughing. I forget which game it was in the women's bracket, but they were talking and saying, it was in the Iowa-Georgia game. And they were talking about obviously one of the non-Caitlin Clark players who said she's not coming back for her 5th year. She's going to dental school.
Yes.
And I was like, that's fucking awesome.
What was her name? Oh, it escapes me. I loved that. I love that too. Indiana Dental School.
Oh, McKenna Warnock.
There you go, Warnock.
Yeah,
right.
She will bypass her free COVID season to enter dental school. Brandon and I had a teammate, Chris Stewart, who did his first year of law school as a 5th-year senior at Notre Dame on the football team. Fucking insane. So shout out to all of the young people that are not going on in the tournament anymore. What you done mattered. The people you did it with mattered. And you're going to have plenty of other days that matter, even if we just sounded like we were still trying to relive the glory days there. But speaking of the good times that we know are here while we're in them, Woo. Let's have Charlotte Wilder look at our Sweet 16 for the Some Shining Moments bracket that we put together. For anyone that wasn't with us last week, it's a bracket made up of 32 of the biggest moments from the last year: sports, movies, TV, music, pop culture, everything. We seeded them, we put them into 4 different regions, and we had you, the people at Gojo Show on Twitter, vote for all of those. And my God in heaven, the results were something. So, Charlotte, you were here when we unveiled the round of 32. We have just now finished the votes from this most recent round of voting. And I'm just double checking to make sure there wasn't any changes here. There were not. And so I can go.
So we're 32 to 16.
Yep. So we are down to the Sweet 16 now for the tournament here. So let's give you the rundown here, Charlotte, for what we've had in this tournament thus far.
Is it too long if you say this versus this and I guess?
No, absolutely not. So
I want to guess which way. We'll do it quickly. I won't go through the whole, just rapid fire, and then maybe at the end I give you like my key takeaway.
No, I'll let you guess each one as we go through the region. All right.
Okay.
So we shit off Charlotte.
So we started off Charlotte. The first round we did was the North region. It was the sports region. 1 Tom Brady retirement saga versus 8 Aaron Judge home run chase. Which one?
Tom Brady.
Aaron Judge. The 8 seed Aaron Judge home run race upset Tom Brady's retirement in the first round.
Unthinkable.
Unbelievable.
That's like Virginia losing. Holy shit.
Charlotte, trust me, it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
So, next one. Kelsey brothers at the 3 seed versus the 6 seed Brooklyn Nets imploding. Who won?
Okay, the Nets.
Kelsey brothers.
I reverse psychology of myself.
I know.
Okay.
It's like rock, paper, scissors. Now you're in your own head. All right, let's get back on track here. 4 seed Messi and Mbappe World Cup final versus the 5 seed Georgia Bulldogs going back-to-back in the national championship.
Messi World Cup.
Yep, absolutely. Messi World Cup goes on. Last one. 2 seed LeBron James passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against 7 seed Brock Purdy's remarkable season.
Brock Purdy.
Yep. So the Sweet 16 from the North region is 8 seed Judge versus 3 seed Kelsey brothers, and 4 seed World Cup final versus 7 seed Brock Purdy. So the sports
if Brock
region.
Purdy beats Mbappe and Messi, I swear to God.
Buenos Aires, excuse me, Aaron, I messed it up so
His
bad.
Airness, Buenos Aires.
His Buenos Aires.
We'll burn to the ground. I got you, Brandon.
Yes, thank you.
Charlotte, believe me, it only gets weirder. In the East region,
Okay.
the music region, we had 1 seed Taylor Swift Midnight Saga against the 8 seed Wednesday Addams Dance Scene. Who won?
I'm going to say Taylor Swift, even though if it gets weird, maybe I'm wrong. What?
Wednesday Addams. The internet.
What?
Its might.
The internet is up its own ass. Okay, wow.
And
all
I'm
right.
amazed because this was from my timeline. I am full of Swifties, so there really is something
know.
weird in the water.
You think you
Okay.
are.
Number 3 seed, Rihanna Super Bowl halftime show versus the 6 seed Lizzo playing James Madison's Crystal Flute.
Oh, shit. This is impossible. I mean, I want to say Rihanna.
She did. Rihanna won.
Okay, good.
Rihanna
Okay.
advances.
I mean, no shade to Lizzo on the flute, but that
course.
Rihanna show spoke to me on a cellular level.
We're all changed now. Our DNA
Yes.
contains Bad
Yes.
Girl in it, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
The 4-5 matchup. Oliver Shane Hawkins, Taylor Hawkins' son, playing in the tribute, the There Goes My Hero with the Foo Fighters in honor of the passing of his father versus the 5 seed Harry's House. Who won?
Taylor Hawkins' son.
Yes, he did. The 4 seed advances to the Sweet 16. And last but not least, 2 seed Beyonce's Renaissance against 7 seed Corn Kid.
Oh, God. Corn Kid is the only thing on here that could give Beyonce a run for her money. Beyonce, though.
It's corn. A big lump with
Follow
knobs.
your heart.
Had the juice.
Have you ever seen More Beautiful Thing? Wow.
So we have 8 seed Wednesday Addams going up against 3 seed Rihanna and 4 seed Taylor Hawkins going up against 7 seed Corn Kid. In the South region, we have got the movies and television region here with the 1 seed, the Oscar slap, going up against Kanye West's entire saga of controversy and demise.
I hope it's a slap.
The slap won overwhelmingly. Great. It was the widest margin of victory by far. Thank God.
Okay, great.
The 3 versus 6 matchup, Stranger Things. Kate Bush running up that hill versus The Last of Us, episode 3, the Bill and Frank episode.
Oh, God. I'm going to go with recency bias and say The Last of Us won.
Running up that hill.
Okay. Yep. I'm all in on Kate Bush, so I'm happy about that one.
We have the 4 seed, Don't Worry Darling drama. What?
I hope Kate Bush makes it to the championship.
Ooh.
Would be an incredible moment for something old becoming new.
Yep. Okay. I love that song. I love that moment. I love that it came back. I've always loved Kate Bush, but a big Kate Bush stan before all of this. Wuthering Heights is an unbelievable song. Haunting. Anyway.
Damn. Is she the heir of the Bush, like Bush Light line?
No.
Is like the beer people?
I don't think so.
No?
Beer Bush or President Bush?
I hope she's not a Nepo baby.
Jesus Christ.
Nepo baby.
The 4 seed, Don't Worry Darling drama, went up against the 5 seed Sheryl Lee Ralph Emmy acceptance speech. Who won?
Wait, sorry. I was Googling Kate Bush. sorry.
Don't Worry Darling versus Sheryl Lee Ralph Emmy acceptance speech. Who won?
Cheryl.
No, Don't Worry Darling.
People love the mess.
It was juicy. Yeah, people are really in it for the shit.
It was. I did love that. I followed every...
I think he spit.
And Charlotte, last one. 2 seed Top Gun Maverick versus 17 J-Lo and Ben Affleck getting back together.
J-Lo and Ben.
Top Gun destroyed them.
God.
It was embarrassing.
The seating. I blame the seating.
Hey, listen, Brock Purdy won. They don't have any excuses.
Yeah. No, I know. Top Gun Maverick was fun.
The last region was the region we put up yesterday. It was the West region. It was the and other region. Basically, the internet and things that we couldn't place elsewhere, which explains the 1-8 matchup, Elon Musk buying Twitter versus 8-seed Cocaine Bear. It can be the actual bear on cocaine or the movie. Both of them originated from God's internet. Who won?
Okay, Elon Musk.
Yes, Elon Musk advances in that one. The 3 seed, Pete Davidson's dating roster versus Harry and Meghan keep telling all. Charlotte.
Pete. I think Pete won.
Pete Davidson did win.
Yeah.
Almost 60% of the vote. Pete Davidson.
I'm on a heater.
Getting it done. The 4 seed, the loss of Queen Elizabeth against the 5 seed Selena and Hailey Bieber drama.
Selena and Hailey.
The Queen actually went ham on this one. Almost 80% of the vote. So
Her Royal Highness.
Rest in power.
Sort of.
And then the final vote, the 2 seed, ChatGPT AI versus Adam Levine's DMs. Charlotte, who won?
It's the weirdest bracket I've ever heard of. I don't know. ChatGPT, Mike.
It actually did. I was stunned. I thought for sure people would love the grime of Adam Levine's DMs. So we have got ChatGPT, the 2 seed, going up against Queen Elizabeth, and Elon Musk going up against Pete Davidson.
As the good Lord intended.
So again, the Sweet 16 from the East, Wednesday Addams, Rihanna, Taylor, Oliver Shane Hawkins, and Corn Kid. From the North region, Aaron Judge and the Kelsey brothers, and the World Cup final and Brock Purdy. From the West region, Elon Musk, Pete Davidson, ChatGPT, and Queen Elizabeth. And from the South, the Slap, Kate Bush, Don't Worry Darling, and Top Gun. At Gojo Show on Twitter, we will begin the voting for the Sweet 16 post haste, toot sweet, as we get going here. In the meantime, friends, it's time to answer some mailbag questions. The people were kind enough to send us some questions. We will be kind enough to provide them with some answers. At Gojo Show on Twitter and Instagram is where you can find us. And let's go with this one from Zach. 13090. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your excitement level for the new season of Love is Blind starting next week?
Oh my God, I'm so glad somebody brought this up. I can't wait. I can't freaking wait. I'm addicted to this show. Also, my birthday is on Saturday. The Love is Blind comes out on Friday, and Succession comes out on Sunday. And it's March Madness. There's not enough time in the day to watch all of the things I have to watch. I'm a little stressed.
Think about this entire weekend overall. We've got the season finale of Shrinking that'll come out midnight on Thursday night before all of that even gets started.
And the season finale of Daisy Jones and the Six on Thursday.
I have not watched that yet, but I hear good things.
Yeah, I know. But people listening who know.
Shout out Stevie Nicks.
I think Love is Blind for me has now taken the top spot in my reality dating show. I just flat out didn't watch this season of The Bachelor where apparently Zach went on a sex strike during the fantasy suites, but then had sex with someone and decided to tell people about it. Like, dog, what are you doing? Why are these guys so dumb and feel the need to tell everyone that they're having sex with other people?
Because... Well, I don't need to answer that.
Men.
I know The Bachelor's over. It's Love is Blind, reigns supreme.
Okay, well, let's be honest about Love is Blind real quick though, because I'm as excited for it as I am about March Madness in a sense that it's just a feeder to my actual true love, which is the perfect match. And getting the chance to see how the roster gets filled up with the person match. Like, that person came from this school. This season, like this is their storyline. Like I'm kind of all in on the perfect match now. So Love is Blind just feels like a feeder. Because let's be real, there's a full episode that they don't need in the entire season.
It's true.
And it's usually around the time where they're meeting the families. I feel like they milk stuff out just way too long. Like we're off the high of the honeymoon. Like we got to get to the stuff a little quicker.
I couldn't agree more with you, Brandon. I couldn't. The Love is Blind and the NCAA tournament are the drafts for the NBA and Perfect Match. There you go.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well,
just looking at the rosters. Since
we are all thoroughly excited to get a look at these rosters, and since you brought up Perfect Match, this segues perfectly into this question from Robosser. Is there a dating show concept you haven't seen yet that you would want to?
Ooh.
Yes, I had an idea. Everyone's like, "Oh, shocked." You had your own. You don't say. I think that there should be a dating show of. If anybody steals this idea and doesn't bring me on as a producer, I'm saying this right now. I'll be pissed. Okay. Sports fans from teams that hate each other are set up on dates, or like if you make it. You're paired up, like you bring in a certain amount of Red Sox fans, a certain amount of Yankees fans, or something, or like, one Red Sox fan, one Yankees fan, one Ravens fan, one Steelers fan, like, and they have to, and the couple who survives the longest wins the competition.
And you've got to do it in season.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or I don't know. I haven't worked out the rules yet.
Have you workshopped a name for it yet?
House Divided?
Bleeding Hearts. What? House Divided. There you go. Yes.
That might be good. Just because the...
Bleeding Hearts?
What?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Bleeding?
Who am I? Jesus.
Disturbing.
There's something in there. Anyway.
All right. I love the concept. Yeah. Sports reality dating feels... There's always been sports elements of reality dating, as you've often pointed out. Reality dating is sports, but they also do love the sports dates on there. Brandon, were there any other ones that you had an idea of? Because I had an idea for one, and I found out it existed.
Okay.
What, Travis Kelce's Shot at Love?
No, but Catching Kelce needs to make a comeback. It would be incredible now.
That's true. Yeah, all mines are comebacks. I have two, so let's listen to yours first, Mike.
Well, I wanted a reality dating cooking show, and then I realized it exists on Hulu, and it's called Hotties.
Get out.
In this wild dating competition, 4 hot singles go on blind dates and battle to cook up date night worthy dishes. But in order to keep cooking, they'll have to choke down extreme spicy food challenges. Will beating the heat help them burn through the first date facades to form a more authentic connection? Or will it all just be a hilarious hot mess? Great
just
copy.
Sounds like a way to have diarrhea before you go on a date with someone.
Yes. Which would definitely break the ice. Like the last time I was in a relationship, that gap of time before you're comfortable pooping in front of the person that you're dating, hell on earth, especially when the Starbucks bathroom you try and go in is occupied by someone for a long time, and then you come back out after a number of times passed where it already seems like you poop, but you didn't get to poop, and now you still got to figure out where you're going to poop.
Mike, Charlotte, I saw Chris Hansen as I was I was at a Starbucks in Santa Barbara. He was coming out of the bathroom. I was going in, and I didn't feel like asking what the code was, so I was like very aggressively like on whoever was going to come out. Ran into the Bachelor host.
Wait,
Chris Harrison?
You mean Chris Harrison? Chris Hansen's the guy that used to storm in on child predators before. I think he got caught up for infidelity.
My bad. This is like, I would probably have some fire for you guys if you guys messed up a famous black person's name like that. So I apologize. But yeah, the Bachelor one.
It's basically the same.
Well, let me say this. I think.
What are your ideas?
Flavor of Love and For the Love of Ray J was two of my favorite dating shows that were on VH1. They probably were a little too horny at the time, but I just
Makes
idea
sense.
of and also like what is it? The Bret Hart, not Bret Hart.
Rock of Love.
Rock of Love.
Yeah.
Like an actual celebrity getting out there as if they're interested at all, and then a bunch of people just going after them. I love that concept. But also, this is a little twist. Do you guys remember the show Wife Swap?
Yes.
Okay.
Big time.
So my biggest issue with Wife Swap was it should have been called Mom Swap, because they never did it when there wasn't kids involved, and it was all about momming and less about wifing, and like the husbands were kind of a non-factor in the whole thing. So imagine if it was Wife Swap, where they were actually trying out new families, like some turmoil leading into like just getting into the new thing. Like maybe grass isn't green on the other side. Maybe me and Steve need to talk these things out. I don't need to go just switch up families.
Yeah, I love it. Also A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila was another VH1.
Very progressive at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also fair.
Yeah, she had women on there too. It was incredible. I loved that. I watched that. Flavor of Love. Big fan of the. I've always been this way.
The only thing I remember about Wife Swap was the Chappelle Show mock of it, where he was in the white home and he was reading the newspaper in the bathroom, and he said, "Who in the hell is Renee Zellweger?" That's all I remember from that.
That one was too much. Those are great skits.
If we're bringing back shows, I want to bring back Next from MTV.
Oh,
yes.
so good.
That show was just a dating app in real life. It was
in
terrible.
the bus.
Yes.
Oh my God, bring it back.
Somebody actually, just the full circle, somebody I played high school football with was on the Next bus, and he was the fifth person and never made it. All he did was make weird faces at everyone, because the bus gets so weird during that entire time. Like, he spoke to his true soul and like Louisville nature by just throwing shade at everybody who's sitting there trying to get off the bus.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
This question comes from Coley Mars. What is your title for the rom-com that starts with Charlotte Wilder and Jason Tatum being traded from the Boston Celtics to the Lakers and winding up on a plane together, wondering how they got there, which for anyone that missed the podcast was an actual dream that Charlotte Wilder had?
I think I would call it.
I got it.
Yeah. What?
West Coast Connection.
Holy shit.
It's a good one.
You're good at this.
I like that one a lot. Mine, my idea was Ball is Wife.
In a time where like the worst titles seem to be making it to shows, that's great.
That would get greenlit by the CW.
I can't believe that doesn't exist already. That's a dating show I want.
They would definitely promote that during March Madness. You could remember Iron Eagle. And coming up after this, Ball is Wife, Charlotte Wilder, and Celtic star Jason Tatum wind up in quite a conundrum as they're both traded to the Los Angeles Lakers.
I told you guys about the SNL sketch where they do Joe Buck and it gets weirder and weirder, where he has to say, and next... Yes. Next, coming up after this, Crazy House.
Which they essentially had a Crazy House read for them this year. I had a bit planned with Brandon where I actually had 3 shows that were actually promoted during the NCAA tournament, and 3 shows that were made up during that time.
Mike, it's mailbag time. Run that.
All right, here we go. You guys can guess this. I have 6 of them written down. First off, we have got The Equalizer, starring Queen Latifah. Real or fake?
Real.
I know that's. I know my queen.
100% real. All right.
Yeah, come on, Mike.
Here we go. The Creator League, featuring Cash Nasty.
False.
That is real. That is a YouTube basketball series where YouTube stars compete for a prize in a basketball tournament.
Oh, I thought you made it. Okay.
All right, here we go. Real Housewives of Appalachia.
Fake.
Absolutely fake, but I wish was real.
But we need it.
Yes.
All right. Coming up, Short Stack, starring Jon Favreau.
Real.
That is 100% made up. All right.
Well, he did Chef, so I thought maybe this was his pancake movie.
Yep, 100% my thought process too.
Walked right into my trap.
The next we have The Joker and the Queen, starring Ed Sheeran.
No. Absolutely not real.
No, that's the name of a song that Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift did, though.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And the last one, East New York, starring Amanda Warren.
Real.
Absolutely real.
I know. I've seen. Not only was it the last one, so it had to be real because that was the ratio we were working with. But so in the future, I don't say 3 are real and 3 are fake.
That's a good point. Great context clues, Charlotte.
But I did hear. I remember hearing East New York, and I live in New York. I live in Brooklyn, which I guess is sort of technically East New York. And I was like, "What the heck is this?"
Ooh, Jimmy Smits is in that. Loved him in Sons of Anarchy.
Ooh, yeah, great call.
Gemma.
This one comes from @Michael B. Rubin on Twitter. What college would Charlotte have gone to if she had to pick a Power 5 school? Charlotte, considering you have done back-to-back years of college tours, it was my favorite game I used to play with Anish Shroff when we'd be on the road, is you would approach every week like you were reopening your recruiting process, and we would go through each week, and based on the schools we've been to, figure out who we commit to. So if you had to pick a Power 5 school, who would it be?
I have an answer, and then I have the real answer. My answer is LSU, and then in reality, it would be Michigan.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That makes sense.
You're both like, oh, yeah, I see it. Damn. I fell in love with LSU, unlike any other school. And then I went to Michigan, and I was like, oh, right, no, this is where I would have I would have gone.
You don't get me to say a lot of nice things about Michigan easy, but the Washtenaw Bakery is one of the nicest places ever. Phenomenal ice cream. That town is actually very cute. Obviously, everyone goes to Zingerman's, but there's a lot of really good stuff there.
The Boston to Michigan pipeline is very strange to me.
It's so real. It's so real because you go. First of all, it's not too far from the East Coast. It's a lot closer than I thought it was, to be honest. I have to tell you, not to segue too much, but or divert. The one thing I learned, I know nothing about U.S. geography from my time traveling to these schools. Did you know that it's like an hour from New York to Knoxville, hour 15 on a plane?
That whole area of the country, like
Knoxville, Tennessee, Detroit,
from the Mid-Atlantic down, messed me up.
Yeah, I got there so fast, and I was like, "How are these places so close to where I live?"
You know, the tailwind.
Okay. Anyway, but yeah, the Boston to Michigan pipeline is so real, Brandon. I don't know. Maybe we're all just like obnoxious and we hone in on it, or Ann Arbor just feels like New England.
Ooh, Ann Arbor does have kind of New England vibes. The campus, both Notre Dame's campus and Michigan's campus actually have very New England vibes. They're at their peak, I think, in the fall season. They're set up very much like that. The weather is always weirdly in sync with whatever the weather in the Northeast is. So there's something to that.
Lake effect.
Also, I don't say Notre Dame because I have not been there yet. So hopefully at some point in the future, I can have some tour guides. Yeah.
We will. I promise you, we will give you a glowing tour that will have you ready to commit after. Brandon knows there is one thing that gets every Notre Dame player to commit on the spot, and that is the "Here Come the Irish" video with the song sung by the white lady in the background. "Here Come the Irish of Notre Dame." So it's incredible.
Show me a hype video, and I'm there.
It'll give you full body chills. We'll make sure we get that in front of you.
Okay.
Speaking of the Northeast, at Michael Turbo Dude, does the AFC East hype picking up right now resemble the AFC West hype from last year? In other words, will the Bills win this division handily and make everyone look foolish? Charlotte, are you at all excited about the Patriots now that you're going to have a real offensive coordinator again in Bill O'Brien?
Yes, and we got Juju, and I don't really have any idea of what is going to happen, and I dare hope maybe that it might be fun again.
I think
we're going to get steamrolled by the Bills, so
I am fascinated to see what Juju Smith-Schuster is like on the New England Patriots. If this is a Gronk style thing where he just gets to be able to be himself after what I thought was a somewhat resurgent season by him in Kansas City. I thought outside of Travis Kelce, he was often one of the most consistent options on that team. But I just think also having one voice in the room who is actually an offensive coordinator be the offensive coordinator with Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi as they parent trap us is going to be helpful at least.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets worse from last year when you had I can't even say it without laughing. Matt Patricia and Joe Judge sharing the duties. If we get worse from there, then I think it's going to be a 10-year rebuild, but I'm hopeful.
Honestly, do you remember the movie, I think it was Adam Sandler and Kevin James, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Frank?
Chuck and Larry.
Chuck and Larry, yeah. I feel like that could be a rom-com made about Joe Judge and Matt Patricia being co-coordinators on offense for a season in New England. Like, that had to be done with a camera crew in mind because there's no other reason to put those two together in that role.
Look, if they come out in a few months and they're like, by the way, we filmed it all, here's a reality show, I'll be like, totally cool, worth it, don't care about the lost season, let's go.
Right, you've had so many good seasons, you can burn one for content.
1,000%.
By the way, Jessica Biel had the best scene in that movie. Continue.
I saw it.
I actually saw that too, and like outside of being like, as you'd imagine, a touch problematic given, the subject matter and the time frame that it was shot in. There were some laughs. But
Lance Bass killed that at the very end, so it was kind of it was the whole thing.
Also very
poetic
true.
Justice.
All right, last one, guys, from AE Kless. Would you rather get trapped inside a video game or have that video game come to life?
Can I ever get out? Because then it's the same thing.
Well, this is my only question, is if the video game comes to life, is it just, hey, all the things that were a part of that game are just real now? Which would mean mortality still exists. Because if you're in the video game, then you get multiple lives in theory. And so you're going to go through this. You're just basically playing the game on expert level if the video game becomes real life, is my thought process.
Can I jump in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't see enough people eating in video games, so I feel like I would want and it's too important to me, so I would want the video game to come to me. As I'm also a huge fan of Jumanji, the movie, and just like the craziness that ensued when the board game came to life. So yes,
Robin
Williams. Yeah. Thank you.
Honestly, now that I've been playing the Harry Potter Legacy game, 100% bring that to life.
Yeah. Really? Okay. So here's the thing. Totally depends on the game.
Sure, absolutely. When you get to choose.
Am I playing The Sims? Can I enter a cheat code and build myself a house for free?
Rosebud.
Yeah. Rosebud 1! Exclamation point star! Exclamation point.
A bunch of Airbnbs around the country.
Yeah, 1,000. Yeah, if it's a Sims, bring that shit to life. I'll have 5 pools in my backyard.
Oh my god, I couldn't imagine if someone brought Roller Coaster Tycoon to life. I'd be in jail for like quadruple homicide after I half built a roller coaster into the lake.
Yeah, same. We can't have that. We can have The Sims though.
Oh man. Yeah, Brandon, you'd be pleased to know in Harry Potter Legacy, you can eat food. I pick up apples and I pet cats all the time in that game. There's just this cat walking around and I haven't figured out what it does, but it gives you the option to hit square and pet the cat. And it legitimately shifts you into story mode and you pet this cat and it gets real excited and then it leaves.
Yeah, Mike, that cat is Ron's cat.
Oh, fuck. Is it really?
Do you remember?
Well,
or
I remember.
Hermione. I can't remember which one had a cat.
Well, see, this is off the timeline for them.
I don't play the video game.
Yeah, it's not like in Harry Potter's time frame in Hogwarts, but I'm sure the cat could have some sort of reference. And again, why would they keep making it special if there wasn't some sort of connection to the past?
Doesn't it just seem like some kind of weird game creator sexual innuendo, like Disney and all the things that we grew up with in the background? Like Harry can go around and pet a cat and it gets excited and runs off. Like, just don't touch the cat. Don't touch it.
Brandon, outside of clearly being horny time, do you know what other time it is? Thank you to everyone who sent in questions at Gojo Show on Twitter.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your mailbag questions. We appreciate your creativity. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sorry Brandon took it to a place where he sexualized Harry Potter in that way.
You was over talking about petting kitty cats and getting excited.
It was a test and you failed.
By the way, yes, I do know what time it is.
Wow.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified, and kept thinking I can never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong. And I learned how to get along, and so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look up on your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd have known in just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Go now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one that tried to this, that, and the third? Thought I'd crumble. Thought I'd lay down and die. Oh no, not I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'd stay alive. 'Cause I got all my love to live, and I got all my love to give, and I'll survive. This, that, and the third. Hey, hey.
As always, if you think Brandon did a phenomenal job, make sure you download, subscribe, rate and review Gojo. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And let him know exactly how you feel.
That is one of my favorites yet.
It's a winner.
I highly suggest everybody better go to YouTube and watch, because I broke out my best white mom at a wedding dance moves for that one.
Charlotte, you and I were 100% white wedding parents there, just offbeat clapping our asses off.
We were vibing, and Brandon was just crushing it. So thank you for that.
Guys, speaking of a vibe, let's get to this, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to finish off the day. Cam Newton went back and threw at Auburn's pro day. Put out a hype video for it, which included him at the beginning saying, "There ain't no way there are 32 MFers better than me," basically saying he thinks he belongs back in the NFL. I think 2 things from this really stuck out to me. One, this was the return of Cam Newton's ridiculous font into our lives. Shout out to whoever makes the lower third topic graphics for NFL Live for doing the graphic about this in Cam Newton's font, which had to be a nearly impossible task, but one that deserved to be undertaken. But also, obviously people are going to look at this from the standpoint of Cam Newton and what he's trying to do. Had to be pretty freaking cool if you're a kid at Auburn and Cam freaking Newton is coming back and throwing to you at pro day potentially. That, as far as all-timers, Cam Newton is, I think at worst, the second best college football player I've seen in my lifetime. And to have that guy coming back at a place that he put on the map in the modern, for kids in the modern era who know Auburn football, what they think of is Cam Newton dragging that team to a national championship essentially by himself on offense. That had to be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Also, isn't he our age?
More or less, yeah.
Isn't he exactly?
I think he might be a year older than us.
When's his birthday? He might be my age. He might be class of 2011 from college, technically, if he hadn't.
33. May 11th, 1989. So, Mike.
Yes. Yeah. So this is hilarious to me because I always, for some reason, Cam Newton and Von Miller, I've always looked at and tried to imagine that they were just like guys in my class at school because we would have been the same class. Also, Von Miller's birthday is a day after mine, so we're literally exactly the same age. And Cam Newton going back, like, the thought of me going back to my college and like trying to do anything athletic, I think puts into I think it's weird what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. But I mean, also like, good for you, man.
Honestly, Charlotte, that does put into focus. Cam Newton went back and with purpose did the pro day at his alma mater, and coming up very soon, Brandon or I may have to do it as a punishment to see if we are even physically able to get through that.
Yeah. Yes. So humbling.
I'll say this: I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this. Also, what starting signing happened that made Cam Newton like, you know what? That's the last straw.
You did hear him say how all these randoms keep getting jobs, but not me.
Yeah.
Like, who do you think it was?
Jimmy Garoppolo going to like the Raiders? Like, where's his mind at?
It's a good question. This should be the question like last year when Tom Brady went on The Shop and said when they chose that motherfucker over me, we need to find out who the random was that Cam Newton was going after here. Like, did he see maybe like Geno Smith have a resurgent year after 10 years on the shelf and say there's no way that guy's better than me? Maybe. I mean, Baker Mayfield also just got signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and is going to have a legitimate opportunity to start with them. I'd imagine if it was one, it has to be Baker Mayfield getting signed. If I had to bet, that was probably what did it for Cam. Same division he was in the last time we saw him in Carolina. That would be my vote.
He's also cocky enough, Baker is, for Cam to be like, oh, this guy? Like, there's something, I could see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quarterback battle? Baker and Cam?
Oh, man.
And Kyle Trask?
Ring the bell, baby. Ring the bell. All right, guys, let's get to that. This was a bizarre headline. Cameron Diaz is apparently retiring from acting again after she wraps up the Netflix film Back in Action with Jamie Foxx so she can focus on being a mom to her 3-year-old daughter, Reddix. The quote that a source close to Diaz told the Daily Mail said that the back-to-back 10-hour workdays have been a lot on her and she hates being away from Radix. She loves being a mom more than anything in the world. So apparently this will be the last of it. Cameron Diaz is 50 and got married in 2015, had Radix in 2019. The question is, can you actually retire from acting?
No. Okay. This is... I get mad about this for some reason because you know what? If you want to lay low first of all, nobody cares enough about you retiring when you're going to pop up again in 10 years. A friend of mine once told me a few years ago, I was like worried that I wasn't doing enough or, I wasn't going, my career or blah, 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 whatever. And he was like, Charlotte, you could disappear for a year and not do anything and pop up again a year from then and start doing what you're doing. People will be like, oh, cool. Hey, Char. Like, nobody's sitting around, like, waiting for you to freaking... in the words of my mother, no one's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. So just say, like, do a movie, think to yourself, I'm not going to do another movie. And then when you change your mind in 10 years, do another movie and you haven't wasted our time with thinking you're retiring.
I mean, that's basically what she did. Her last film was with Jamie Foxx, Annie, in 2014. And it was her good friend Jamie Foxx that pulled her out of acting retirement to get back into the game. So
just like give it a sec. Don't declare anything.
It sounds like there was a bunch of drama on this set. I'm not going to feed into specifically who because I don't know enough about the specifics and I hate the way that people try and paint certain celebrities, but it does sound like there was a bunch of drama on set for this one that maybe made her feel like, hey, you know what? This is not really what I want to be dealing with again.
But also, what my favorite part about this whole story is that her husband is the good Charlotte brother, right?
Yeah, one of them.
Maddox.
Benji Maddox.
Yeah,
also,
Benji,
Radix
Benji
Maddox. You named your kid Radix Maddox. I'm not gonna talk badly about a 3-year-old, but I will talk badly about the parents who did that to her.
I say that reminds me of Wedding Singer when she's in the mirror going, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Julia Gulia."
Yes,
like that's just a hard one.
Back to this poor now they're older. I think Cameron Diaz is 50. I think the Benji is like 44. But it's been a lot. It's been really stressful on him taking care of the baby, the 3-year-old, during this time, these 10-hour work days. And apparently they still came on set every now and then. But one of the reasons why she's definitely retiring is it was just too much on the husband. So as a father of two, who, when my wife is out of town or doing something with her friends, very rarely, when I have the boys just solely, it is a nightmare. It is very scary. It is not hell on earth because it's the angels that you brought to earth, but it's still very hectic and scary. And I can see him being like a rock star, like telling his, superstar, Charlie's Angel's wife, like, babe, you can't do this anymore. We cannot handle it. They probably have like 3 nannies on staff. So
I was going to say.
Anymore.
He's like, you saw what just happened with Tom Brady. I will leave.
Right. And actually, Tom Brady got roped into this. Like, the big announcement to get her back out and acting was Jamie Foxx on the phone with Cameron Diaz and Tom Brady calling, Jamie Foxx and Tom Brady called Cameron Diaz and was like, "Hey, come on, you got to get out of here." That's my Jamie Foxx. Come on, we really got something more for you. You got to come out here and do. Come on, just act one more time. Tom, tell her, you'll miss it. So,
are you gonna be? Oh.
Now, hey, Drake fact of the day. He wrote all of those Jamie Foxx hits. Drake wrote all of those Jamie Foxx hits. Yes.
No way.
Yes.
The more you know. Drake in Louisville. Brandon's got you covered. Let's get to the third. This is actually inspired by something we talked about in the video game question. According to the Centers for Disease Control, there is an urgent threat against a Candida auris, a drug-resistant fungus invading healthcare facilities. It has been upgraded to an urgent threat after a new study showed it had been spreading at an alarming rate throughout healthcare facilities. Now, apparently, at this point, it does not have a massive effect on healthy people, but obviously people that would be in healthcare facilities are not healthy. Apparently, it can migrate on their skin and grow undetected for a while. Considering we just came off The Last of Us making the migration from video game to the screen, this is a little too soon for this kind of headline to start popping up in the news. And I'm going to need the second Last of Us to come up a lot sooner than 2025 or play the video game so I know how to deal with this, because apparently this is happening sooner than we expected.
Yeah, not super into it. This is one of those existential threat articles where I read it and then I'm like, oh, well, that's it. We had a good run.
Well, I would say this. If you watch The Last of Us, that very first episode where he talked about how fungus is different than anything else when it comes to taking over things, I got a little scared. And then this headline, I'm just going to read this blurb from this article. The fungus can infect the bloodstream and even cause death by invading the blood, heart, and brain, the agent said. More than 1 in 3 patients die from such an infection. Now, it seems like they stay dead, which is like, good and bad for the family members. But listen, let's keep looking at these infected, even if after they've passed.
See, and
let's keep this in check.
Yeah,
folks,
figure it out. Wash your hands, do whatever they're going to tell us to do, because again, Brandon talked about it. That scene was added. That was not in the video game. That was supposed to be the creative liberty that was just a little bit of horror at the beginning of the first episode. Yes, where they do the television scene where the guy explains that if the planet warmed just enough, all of a sudden, these fungus might be able to inhabit human bodies, and now this is making me scared. So play the video game realizing foraging is your friends, quietly sneaking around, and it is always more about the roaming bands of human beings after the fall than it is the infected. You've got to watch out for raiders. You've got to watch out for people, because the hunt for fuel and ammunition is really what goes on in the story post-apocalypse. That is what I know.
Shout out to Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett, am I right?
Absolutely. Pedro Pascal. Let's get Zaddy to the post-apocalypse in real life and make this thing really go off. If you enjoyed this twisted journey, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a 5-star rating and check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel under the Gojo with Mike Golick Jr. tab. Make sure you follow Charlotte Wilder at The Wilder Things on Twitter. Thanks so much, friends. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Boom. Money in the bank.